Right,
Fabulous. We are live. It's Selena. Good morning, Selena. How are you been?
Good morning. I'm good. And yourself?
How lovely today is. It's a beautiful day out there, isn't it? And
well,
I hope
so
it is Spain for you, because you're in Spain. I'm in the UK. Today we've got beautiful blue skies and a bit of sunshine. What's the weather like where you are, Selena?
It is really nice. We have had really dodgy weather for such a long time. We've had so many bad winds. Saturday it was pouring with rain, and it's been like 6 weeks of bad weather, and we're not used to it, and it's like, oh my god. But today's the sun's shining, and it looks like it's going to be beautiful, and it's just like, god, summer's got to start soon. I've actually got a t-shirt on.
I'm sitting here with a jumper still, so you know it's but yeah, so Selena, thank you for coming on, and you know what, allow me to do this interview with you today. I'm super excited because you know what, whenever people ask me about you, Selena, I always say, you know what, Selena's the queen of tarot. Okay. You know, you do some of the most amazing courses, you know so much about the tarot. You've even created your own tarot deck, which is something we'd talk about as well. But what I would like to do here, Selena, if that's okay today, is I'd like to just really get more of an insight about you and how you really got sort of drawn to the tarot, because there's so many different cards out there. We've got oracle cards, angel cards, tarot cards, soul cards. So what was it, Selena, if you don't mind, that pulled you towards the tarot in particular?
I feel it was the sheer magic of them. They're more, aren't they? I love oracle cards. I've worked with oracle cards, angel cards, goddess cards, dragon cards. I love them all. But I personally feel tarot are so much deeper. They go deeper for me. I know it always depends on the reader, but for me, tarot just goes deeper, layer and layer. And I suppose I am quite an emotional person. So I look deeper, you know, and question more on those emotions. So they really just called out for me. And I think at the time when I met them, that I was really, they were so different. They were a bit out there, and a bit, it's not like nowadays where you go on Instagram, TikTok, they're everywhere, aren't they? And everybody's flying, you know, it's all the in thing to do. Years ago, it was sort of like something you shouldn't touch, you know, it was like you don't touch them. So perhaps it was more that, especially my first deck, which were these ones with the, you know, it's like they're witchy ones. Oh my God, she's a witch, don't go. I thought, yeah, but I really like them. But it's funny because last week we were talking about past lives with you, and we were talking about our soul journey and how parts of our soul, parts of our past lives come into this life. And I feel a lot of the time we get attracted or pulled towards something that we did or had in our past life. And I'm certain that for me, I was a tarot reader in a past life somehow, whether it was a gypsy or there was something, because when I picked them up, I felt that feeling in my heart that I'd come home. I don't know, it was just like love at first sight. But there was a strong connection, and I just started reading them quite naturally, and just I suppose I looked at the book. I can't really remember. I mean, they came with a guidebook, but I just knew that what they were saying and that I had to use them, and that it just sort of evolved. I then did go and study them because I got more and more interested in them, and I feel that studying them, although we all work off our intuition and we don't really need that, it is a really good base the more you know, and you can delve so into the history of tarot and the symbols and everything. So yeah, I just love them, and these were my first ones. Aren't they great? The images are so so strong. They just called out. They're amazing.
Wow. So if you don't mind, how old was you, Selena, when you very first bought your first deck of cards?
I was probably I remember there was about 18, 19. So it was quite, because I never even heard of them really. I mean, I know that I had a little bit of influence. My mum went to a healer and there was a spiritual church, but it was never anything to do with tarot. And I don't think I'd even seen them. And it was only because I was doing some work on past life regression, funny enough, as a hypnotist. We worked together and we met a medium who came along and we were sort of working together on different paths. And she said to me about tarot and gave me a tarot deck or lent me hers. And then I went out, oh, I need one of these. So yeah, that was, it must have been about 20, but it was great because it was in a period of my life where I was so confused, so lost, as we, you know, many of us go through all these difficult stages in life, but it was a really hard time. And it wasn't, again, we didn't really have counsellors or people you could turn to. And when you did, it depends what your problem was, because mine would all be, they'd probably just look at me like I'm nuts. But tarot helped me. You know, tarot really helped me. I remember, because I remember once going to see a counsellor and they said, oh, try this. And I sat there and the girl was a lot younger than me. This was at later life. And I started telling her how I thought, my thought process and my feelings. She was just looking at me. I thought, no, tarot knows me better. Because it's like having a guru in your pocket or your best friend, somebody that helps reflect you and help you look in your soul. It's not for everybody, but for me, it's my something I have clung to, you know, to lead me through and show me the way. And it's really, really helped me. Especially when I don't understand me, or I don't know how to get away from something that I'm doing. You know, why do I keep doing this pattern? Why aren't I attracting something that I want? What's wrong with me? What am I doing wrong? And they help you, they give you answers. Sometimes it's pretty brutal, but I feel that it shows you what you have to work on, your shadows. And if we don't do that, we then don't get to a place where we can attract things or we can find happiness and peace if we're not finding, not what's wrong with us, but where our blocks are.
Yeah, absolutely. So, confession time, Selena. How many decks of tarot cards do you have?
Wow, last count, it was 50 odd.
Wow.
50 decks, but they are different ones. They are not just all tarot. I've got a lot of tarot, but I have told myself no more tarot. So and then
until you get a recommend, you go, oh, exactly. Look at these ones that I've got.
I just saw somebody in the Infinite Soul Circle pages last night. Chantel had just brought the Macabre Tarot, and I just looked at it and thought, oh, and I thought, oh, and they were on special offer. I thought I might just get them. And then there's so many different ones, and there's so many different takes, and I've only just about 2 years ago, and I got gifted the Rider White cards, which are normally what you first start off with, I think, if you learn tarot, but I only got them a couple of years ago. And then that took me down into a different element of tarot, going really into the symbols and the astrology part of it and the elements. Whereas when you're working with different tarots, you don't pick up on that so much. You know, that you're more with you're more stimulating your psychic senses, perhaps, and your intuition. So yeah, there's so many decks out there that really bring out different parts. Some that work more emotionally, some that are a bit more kick-ass. So it depends. And some which are really mysterious, that sort of you know, take you down a different pathway. Yes, so I am an addict, and I have to but I also love adding a different element, you know, bringing in oracle cards, goddess cards. Sometimes you can be sitting there and think, oh, I just need to pick up an angel card, maybe to change the energy. I remember doing a reading for someone not long ago that was going through a hard time, and I felt like I was wagging my finger saying, well, I told you not to do this before you went So I ended the reading with sort of a couple of angel cards to soften the blow.
Or soften that up a little bit. Yeah, absolutely.
So it's
yeah.
nice as well to be able to mix them and have them at hand. And even when I am using cards, sometimes I use my own, and they can be quite emotional. I've got other ones which are more direct, and then I'll be guided to just pick up another set and start working with them. So I end up with cards everywhere.
Excellent. So there is an art to this, because, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, okay, but I feel anyone can read tarot. But there's a massive difference in being able to read the tarot and then to use it with your psychic gift. You know, so it's very different, I feel, of being able to actually read it and then to actually intuit it for that individual. Would you agree?
I do. I'm in quite a few what I call the geek tarot groups, and they're really into the history and symbolism. They're all very educated, and they read tarot in a completely different way to me. I can't do it because I don't think I've got the mental capacity, and I don't get how they say they're not psychic. They're scholars and they read tarot. So it's very, very interesting and lots of respect to them. But it is very different to opening your psychic eye or calling in your psychic helpers and then connecting with somebody's energy and receiving what they need to hear. You know, I feel that it's very different. And then again, it's getting into with tarot, not so much as predicting what's going to happen, because it's very difficult to predict anything, but it's more like getting into sort of say, you know, what's your soul path? What do you need to hear? What tools do you need to start implementing in your life so you can start getting on that correct path, or knowing your path to get on, so then you can achieve or receive what you need, you know. So, and I personally believe you can't do that unless you can intuitively connect to them and receive the messages from their higher self, and then interpreted them for them. Because I feel what we do as psychic readers is just deliver the message that their soul or higher self is trying to communicate to them, and they're, you know, not able to listen.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I completely agree. You know, would you also, because I've got the Gilded Tarot, and I've got the Rider-Waite as well, and I've got a Fairy Tarot, a bit like you, Selena.
I was just going to say, confession time.
As well. But my Gilded Tarot and my Rider-Waite, in an energy vibration aspect, they feel so. The Gilded Tarot feel really much more heavier. It's really, and yet they're the same amount of cards in the deck, but they just physically feel heavier.
Totally agree. I mean, I find they have got so many. When I work privately and go deeper, I use a certain deck of cards because they feel really heavy and secret. You know, they feel. I don't use them on the lives because it's like, this is personal. And I've got another set of cards. I actually work with the light seers on doing live, because they're quite, this is going on in your life, but it's, you know, we can deal with it. But it doesn't go really deep. You know, so I like to use them. They're a different one. They're a bit more showy, so they're good for the lives. And then I've got my set, the Journey to Enlightenment one, which I feel again have got a different vibration, because they go quite emotional. There's a lot going on. If you look in the cards, some people, I think they're quite busy for some, but for me, because I get drawn to, you know, with this card, you've got a main image, but there's so many little objects or symbols and
Yeah.
colors around them that you're drawn to them, and it makes you look deeper, very emotional, but without that direct finger pointing. It's like encouraging you to open up. So yeah, so every set of cards has such a different energy vibration about them, which is why I think that you know, having tarot is a really personal thing. And I know years ago there was like a myth, as there are lots of myths around tarot, but you had to be gifted tarot.
Yeah.
And I used to think, well, no, because what I've really been lucky, and I've been gifted lots of tarot cards, but I don't really like them, a lot of them, or I don't get on with them. Yes, I like them, but they're not me. I've got one with artworks, you know, beautiful, but they're flat to me. I can't pick up any energy off of them. Yeah. And it is such a personal choice. You know, you really just have to look at the images and see. Sometimes they call out to you, don't they? You know, they just think, okay, you're weird and wonderful, so am I. Or you're emotional there, you know, pick me. So yeah, it's a real personal choice. And then again, it's like some days I get up and I really feel drawn to picking a card from the ones that I'm close to, because I just need my best friend just to tell me something encouraging. And other days I think, oh, I'm going to pick a card, and they'll say, you still haven't done it. So you get different energy from different cards, and sometimes you need a boot up the backside, and other times you just need that encouragement. So it's yeah.
So if there's anyone who may be watching this or watches the replay or anything like this, and that is a complete beginner, completely new, who has heard of the tarot, feels a bit scared of it because it's like, that mystical aspect. Yeah. Okay, but really feels, do you know what, I would really like to look at the tarot. How would you go about giving them advice on choosing a tarot deck for someone who's got no knowledge and is a completely beginner with this?
I suppose mainly I would go for a deck that that appeals to them, you know, because it is, don't be scared of tarot, don't be overwhelmed with tarot, and embrace the mysticism of them. You know, that's what I'd say first of all. It's you know, it's like embracing the quirkiness of yourself or the differentness. Do it, because it will become, or they will become, like a guru in your pocket. But then to choose a set of cards, I would just go and have a look at some. If you can't look in the shop, you know, look online, there's so many out there, and see what appeals. Some cards you'll just be put off with because they're too plain, or they're too busy, or the colors aren't right. You know, there's so many different decks out there, so it is really finding something that appeals to them and they can connect with. Because once you've got that first step of liking the image and seeing something within it, or feeling something within it, then it's just sort of steps to get to know them more and more. And don't be overwhelmed. Sometimes there is so much information about tarot. I was quite lucky, I suppose, when I picked mine up, there wasn't. So I just sort of flapped around and found or felt guided, I suppose, you know, and to use them. But there is now perhaps too much information sometimes that can get a bit confusing. And I just sort of feel, you know, just pick up a card, start speaking to them, start connecting, pick a daily card. I love picking a daily card and just saying, what do I need to know about myself today? You know, rather than what's going to happen, which sometimes I do. But if I'm feeling a bit emotional, I just connect with the card and say, what do I need to know about myself today? Or what's today going to bring? How best can I work with today's energy? And just get to know them, just get chatting to them. And then they do start to give great insight. And at first, just look at the picture, you know, sit for a moment and connect in with yourself, take a breath, and see what you feel, you know, or hear, or whatever your strongest sense is. What do you feel when you pick up the card? And if you don't really feel too much, read the meaning, you know, and get that way you get to learn the cards as well. But I think the main thing is finding one with that pictures connect with you, because they're so diverse. I'm looking at all the different cards. I mean, you can get some ones that are quite bold, quite little images, and these ones that are great as well for beginners. These sort of 3 ones that I have up, because they've just got all different pictures that you can connect with. But again, I like boldness and color, so for some people it would just be no. Yeah. So it's personal choice, and then just start using them and connecting with them daily, I think, is the best advice.
Yeah. Fantastic. So if there's anyone out there listening, you know, that's really important with what Selena's just said, because, you know, people can recommend you to go and have this, go and do these, have these ones, but it does really come down, doesn't it, to personal preference?
It does.
You know, so when you've done that, you've picked your cards, okay? Now, obviously, in the ancient divination aspect, you know, we was always shown, you know, to wrap them up in a scarf, you know, in a particular colour of the scarf, keep them individual, pop them under your pillowcase when you very first get them. Is that something you've done?
Sure, yeah, and I carry them around, not so much now, because if I slept with them all under my pillowcase. But no, for sure, when I get and I do feel it's when you feel the need more to connect, because I go through stages now. I look at my cards every day, but sometimes it's just out of habit. But when I have new cards and there's a need, I really do talk to them, touch them every day, put them under my, well, I don't actually put them under my pillow, I sleep with them by my bed, and I talk to them a lot, and and treat them as you would a best friend, because they do, the more you connect with them and the more you bring them in and the more you let them see, the more they'll show you, you know, if you see, you have to have that friendship with them. You can connect, I think, you know, quite easily if you've been using cards for a long time with any deck. You can pick it up, but you know, to get that trust and that bond, connect with them. I've had them in my handbag and traveled everywhere. In fact, my first deck, through my traveling years, they came everywhere with me. So now this is 2 decks mixed together, because when I traveled around and I kept losing them. I lost about 13 or 14 cards. And it's okay to read a deck with some missing cards, but I was missing so many. I was like, oh my God, I need to get them back in my life. And they don't sell them anymore. But luckily, my best mate had brought the same cards more or less at the same time. So she gave me her set. So I just mixed them all up. So I've got 2 sets there, because sometimes I need telling twice. But yes, definitely, just any way to connect with them, put them in your handbag, in your pocket, sleep with them, but just talk to them and have that daily connection. And that's how you build up the relationship.
Yeah, that's really important. So Dawn's actually asked the question on the live chat. If anyone's on listening, if you have any questions, please just put it in the chat, because you know what, we want to help you guys. Selena's here to share her knowledge. I'm just going to have to let my dog in. Do you mind? Sorry. My dog decides to go, can I come in and have a card, please, Selena?
Which one's this? Kerry has 10. So
this is little Scruff coming back in again. So yes. So Dawn's actually asked Selena, how do you cleanse your cards before you do a reading?
Again, I've got lots of methods. I can just see him wagging his tail. He looks really happy there. He wants a card. 3 of Cups, he wants to play. So I do cleanse my cards quite frequently. At the beginning of the day or at the end of the day, I get some Palo Santo and I light it and cleanse them within the smoke. And I have a little ritual that I go through. Or if not, with sage, you know, I burn sage or incense just to cleanse their energy. In between readings, because I used to work doing reading after reading, I would also just sort of tap them and with my intention move the energy away, you know. So I would cleanse them doing that. And I also make some sprays. I've got some sprays that I just make with salt water and lavender and sage, just to protect and calm, and I just sort of spray the area. But my favorite is using Palo Santo.
So would you suggest it's really quite important to cleanse your cards? Do you do this after each reading when you use them, or once? How many times? What would you recommend?
This is when we're going into doing a reading. We're connecting with people's energy. And so if you're moving from one person to the other, you can perhaps pick up, you're still picking up maybe feelings from Kerry as you go on to the next person. So it is important, especially if they're when you first starting, because you may not be able to split the energies. So I do start with quite a few rituals. I set my, I do have a sacred space. I ground myself. So when I'm reading for people, I'm not putting my emotions. If I've just had an argument with my husband and I sit in my room and somebody asks me about their boyfriend and I'm like, well, all men. So I make sure I'm grounded and I cleanse my energy so I'm not sort of affecting the reading. And then I do set my intentions to bless my mind with wisdom, bless my vision with insight, bless my words, so I know that I'm going to give them something they really need. And with my intention, I ask, for everybody to have this separate reading or energy if you're doing a live. But even so, in between, if I can't do the saging in between readings because you're doing readings quickly, I will tap them, or with my intention, I will cleanse them. But it is lovely. I feel that with tarot, because they are, I feel as all divination tools, there's something to be respected. I like setting a ritual up of cleansing, so I'm sort of bowing down to them and sort of showing my respect and cleanse them and set that process in. So I feel it is really important to clean your cards, because if not, eventually they'll pick up different bits of energy that needs dispersing. I remember a lot of people don't like their cards, if they're their cards, they don't like other people to touch them. Personally, when I do readings, I know some tarot readers offer the cards for people to split. I don't. I like my cards to be mine, but I don't feel that there's a problem with doing that, and you can go and pick up cards that have been touched by many people, but then you do need to cleanse them, because our energy does leave little paw marks, little footprints, and so it can affect if somebody's come in and touched your cards, or you've done a reading for someone that's having a really emotional dark time and has really heavy energy because they're depressed or going through such a bad period. Then as you move on to your next reading, you can carry that with you until you cut the cords or cleanse the energy or do something to dispel that energy.
Wow, that is so interesting, and I think you're quite rightly so, Selena. It's really quite important, So when we look at the tarot, we've got, even though it's one deck, we've got two facets to the tarot deck, haven't we? We've got the major arcana and the minor arcana. What is the difference there for people who don't understand the tarot, who's setting out to learn maybe about it? What is the difference between that, the major and the minor?
For me, I feel that the major arcana, the word actually means secret. So you're looking at quite deep energy. So when you pull the majors, they're heavier energy, they're more, perhaps they're shouting at you, they're saying, this is going to happen, this is something you need to look at. And the pip energy, or the minor card energy, is different. They're still just as important within the reading, but perhaps they're showing you steps up to this major change, or helping you, giving you advice on where the big change is going to come, how to embrace the energy so you can achieve this big change. So they are very different. I feel that the minor cards are more emotional, and they're sort of saying on a day-to-day basis how to help your emotions, how to take steps forward, where the majors are. This is a major event that's going to happen. Perhaps they prepare you for that major event. That's perhaps what I feel like. So I've just looked down and I've got the Tower. So the Tower is a major Arcana card, and it actually means that there's going to be a big change, an abrupt change. So you may pick up the minors that sort of surround the card, and they will sort of say, you know, if you tap in within you, you've got all the tools to go through this emotional time, you know, so they'll give you help to go through this period. Yeah, so, but they are very different energetically. Do you feel the same when you're reading?
Yes, definitely. I feel that they have, it gives you a different direction. So I do tend to use both of them intertwined anyway, you know, depending on what that person actually particularly wants from a reading. But it does give a different, it's almost like, you know, you can open up a bit of Pandora's box, but now let's have another look in there.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I feel that does. So yeah, absolutely. So Dawn's actually asked a question as well, asking Selena, do you use a particular spread, and why? If you do, why is it you use that spread?
It depends who I'm reading for and the circumstances. Sometimes if it's a quick reading and I'm just getting some insights, then I'll just pull a card after card, you know. Or I suppose my favorite one, if I'm just pulling a couple of cards, is I'll just pull a card for the base, and then the next one, what blocks you? You know, to see where we're at and what we're working with, and that sometimes just sets the whole reading off, to see what the block is, because usually when people come for a reading, they want to know what's blocking my way forward, or how can I get to where I want to be. So I tend to do that. If it's lives or quick reading, as I say, it's card after card. And if people come for a reading, then I will do like the Celtic cross, and I'll put it for that person rather than following that. I start with obviously a card in the past, the present, and the cross, but then I just tend to say, what are the steps forward and what will the outcome be if we take those steps forwards? But some of the spreads out there are so good. When you do the new moon, the full moon, you know, I love working with the moon with my tarot cards, but some of the spreads for me get a bit too complicated. Because, you know, it can be overwhelming with tarot. So I just feel, again, it's something I love 3-card spreads, 4 or 5 cards. When you see big spreads that sort of entwined, it does get a bit complicated. So to get that message through, and you end up working on where this card should be going and what's it saying, and then you can go off on a tangent, because I know one of the positions with the Celtic cross can be, what do other people feel and think, and then you can go off there. So with my mind, I like to keep things quite straight and simple. Again, I feel it's like, find a spread that works for you, and don't overcomplicate things, and start with just doing 3 cards and you know, keep it simple.
Yeah, absolutely, because, you know, the cards, the tarot, it's like telling the story of life, isn't it? That's how I always view it. It's like, you know, bringing that story of that person's life alive, and sort of going into different pathways, because we know as psychics, Selena, you know, we don't ever just have that one pathway. When we work as psychics, we see the minimum of 2 pathways, you know, for somebody. So again, it's about that creation of that story, isn't it?
Yeah.
So one thing that I often get asked, so I'm going to ask you this question now as well, when people, I say to them, you know, they say, oh, can I have the tarot reading please? And they go, don't pull the death card out though, please. You know, because oh my gosh, and people get really fearful of that one particular card. What's your take on that, Selena?
Well, I think that there are a lot of myths and magic, you know, looking at when you look in some of the when it comes on TV, I think, what was it, the Johnny Depp, and they were using mystical readers and they pull the death card and it means someone's going to die. The Pirates of the Caribbean, that was it. But there's quite a few movies where tarot readers come out in and they are using the cards to sort of signify bad things are going to come. And then I do feel that some readers will prey on that, you know, so they, I mean, I've seen it and I hate it, you know, so that people say, oh, I've seen a bad sign, you know, you've got this card, you've got to come for a reading now to see how you're going to handle it. And it's like, oh my God. But for me, to be honest, it's a little bit of how you look at life. Each card has a bit of a positive and a negative. The death card in particular is all about rebirth, isn't it? It's the end of a situation in some ways, but not an end of the life. But it also signifies throughout that ending, there's going to be new growth, because within everything, you know, if we've been in a relationship for years and it's been stale and dying and literally there's no energy in it, sometimes, although it's sad, it's best to move on. And then you get that rebirth of something good that grows out of it. So I do feel a lot of people make you know, more myths and mystical stuff out of tarot, but really all it's doing is helping you and guiding you. And you know, there's nothing to be scared of, you know, unless you don't want to look into yourself, which is, you know, a big thing of tarot will reflect you. And if you don't want to see things within yourself, and I think that's where a big fear comes of tarot. It's, oh no, don't read me. And it's like, well, we're not going to say anything that you know, it's what's within your energy. It's just reflecting something back from you. You know, it's not tarot, it's you that you're scared of.
Absolutely. So don't open that part. Let's keep that on.
Don't look at me.
So, okay, Dom's asked as well, what is your favourite card in the whole deck? That's an interesting question, actually.
It is Queen of Wands, I think, followed closely by Temperance, because Temperance always comes up for me. But I love the Queen of Wands, because I feel it's a card that's come into my life very much, and it's always like, come on, you know, start with the wands is your passion, it's you, and it's sort of saying to live and be you rather than try to be anybody else. And it's like, be in love with yourself, you know, be happy in your skin no matter how you look. And she's got great passion and personality, and I feel she's full of depth, and she's I feel always someone that's saying, you know, live your life, you've only got one life, and we can't sort of keep hiding. Be you, and don't be ashamed to be you. Step out and show everybody what you're doing. So I love the Queen of Wands. However, my pet hate of tarot cards is when you have all the queens look lovely, you know, I've got a couple of decks where they're all like pinhead, beautiful blondes. That's not a queen looks. What, you know, the queens are all, a queen is usually as you get in, you know, midlife. We've all put on some weight, or like me, not able to have long hair anymore. We all look different. So I hate it when the personalities within tarot are all represented by a skinny white girl who should be cheerleading. I like when there's diversity, because you read from everybody, different ethnics, different sizes and shapes. And when you're sort of pulling up a card of Queen of Wands who's saying for you to live yourself, you know, live and be you, you know, be happy in your skin and grow into to be in this beautiful, and then you're showing them this is the card for you, and it's this tiny little girl. No, it's like step up and be the queen. So I love the Queen of Wands. It's always really encouraging for me personally. I love it.
Yeah, fantastic. So
what's your favorite card? Do you have one? It's a good question. And what's yours, Dawn?
I actually like the Tempress.
Oh yeah,
I'm the same. Yeah, absolutely. And I find that quite a powerful card, and I always sort of sit with that and embrace that, you know, as well. So absolutely, you know, and I just think, you know, again, it also, I'm very much a visual person as well. So when I sort of work into the tarot, I sort of look and just see where it can take me. It takes you on that journey, you know, to open up and expand the mind, to open up the clairvoyance, you know, and to see forwards, you know. So Selena, you teach a wonderful different courses of tarot. Can you give us some insight on your courses, what courses you've got available, and you know, and how do you deliver these courses? Are they in sections? How does this work with your courses?
I offer 3 courses of tarot, but the main one I work with is if you're a complete beginner, or what happens a lot if people have got tarot and they get a bit, because there's 78 cards, so you can get a little bit lost without guidance. I run a 10-week course, and they're about 2-hour lesson once a week over that 10 weeks, and then we practice in between, so that it just gets you confident to know tarot. It also helps open up your psychic eye, your psychic awareness, so you start working psychically with the cards. So again, you sort of learn to look at the card, you learn to receive your psychic insight, and you've also got a base of knowing what the tarot reading is. Because sometimes I would be in a reading and you get, because I do go off on a tangent, and I'd be up here thinking right, I know what's going on, and then I think, oh, where was I? And then I can look down at the next tarot card and think, oh yeah, I was talking about where you're going, you know, within your family life and business life, and then it will give me the next stage onwards. So what we do is we work on the 3 different aspects. We learn the cards, we learn to look at the colors, the images, the numbers, and how to put it all together. So and it's really good fun. And at the end of it, there's also lessons on how to set up your own business, how to get confident with your readings. So that's really fun. And then I think my favorite course as well is Manifesting Magic with Tarot, because of course all the cards have so much energy in them. And so what you're really doing with it's empowering the cards and bringing the energy of tarot alive, bringing the images alive. So in the course we set up an altar, use candle magic, and add all these little different elements together. But really what you're doing is you're creating a spell, your intention with the images, and you can lay it out on your altar, and it's something a bit like a vision board, but with a bit more magical. And so you know, we're sort of doing that work, which is really great, learning how to manifest. And I think because one of the keys of manifesting, we can sit there saying, oh, I want this, or, you know, bring it to me, and we manifest, but unless we make space for it, unless we see what the block is, why aren't I getting to that point? And tarot can show you. So throughout the course, we look at what is blocking that dream, and sometimes it's like, well, you've got the wrong dream, you should, you know, this is what you really should be following, and it'll bring you even more happiness than that. Or it can show, okay, you're trying to manifest a new guy in your life, but you're actually still connected to your ex, and until you start letting go of him and cutting the cords and stop comparing him to everybody you meet, you're not going to be free to bring this into your life. So it's a lovely way of looking a little bit deeper, perhaps at your shadows, at what blocks your path that you think you want, and is it really the path that is there for you? Because sometimes we think, yeah, I want to be this, and it's like, well, no, really, if you did that, you would be happier. So it's sort of bringing all those elements together. getting to know yourself more, getting to know what blocks you, letting go of a lot of stuff that stops you manifesting, and then playing with the magic of tarot to bring these things into your life. So that's fun. And I think we do that over, it's a 5-week course. And again, it's about an hour. I always say an hour and a half, but I always go on for about 2 hours.
So if people are interested in doing your courses for tarot, Selena, how can people get in contact with you?
Just on my website on selenajoyloveit.com, or within the membership, or within, you know, on social media, just drop me a line. Because also what we're doing in the membership is a weekly psychic circle. So even if you're doing tarot and you're a bit lost, or you're doing tarot, you can learn tarot. It's going into the circles. We work a lot on the color of symbols, not of tarot, not of oracle cards, but of the symbols that we have, or the colors that come into our lives. And we work a lot on just embracing a psychic side of us, because a lot of the time we have a lot of blocks because we ignore our intuition so much, or we're shown that, oh, you don't need to be intuitive, learn things, look at the book, look at your phone. We're told to learn things in a different way, so we stop that connection sometimes. So in the psychic circle, we sort of embrace this gift that we all have, and we just keep making every week methods to keep opening up and listening to our intuition. And then we start reading and practicing within the circle. So whether it's tarot or oracle or you know, whatever your divination tool is, it's just really building up that gift that we all have.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you're a teacher, tutor at the Infinite Soul Circle, also a founder of the Infinite Soul Circle.
And I love it.
So that's with the, obviously this is open now. The Infinite Soul Circle Membership Academy is open for new students, but there is a cut-off date on May the 5th. So, you know, if anyone is interested and wants to work more alongside with Selena, learning about the psychic and also cards and divination like that, you know, then we are open the doors at the moment until May the 5th, you know, so you'll get a chance if you want to come and join Selena within her development here, which is incredible. And it's interesting with what you say, because as you was talking, sometimes, Selena, you are quite correct when you say about we need to look at ourselves at times with the tarot as well. And sometimes, and I find this a lot, and you probably do as well, what people actually want and what people actually need can be very different. You know, sure. And that is the big thing, isn't it? And this is what comes out, isn't it? Would you agree when you're working?
It would. I think the thing is that sometimes people expect things to happen in their life. And yeah, sometimes it does. You know, sometimes our lives just, you know, roll along and everything flows out in front of us. But usually life isn't like that. We need to take responsibility for our lives, empower our lives, and take steps towards the goals. When I worked on the psychic lines, you know, people would ring up and say, oh, you know, am I going to have a baby? Am I going to get a husband? You know, so I'll be like, well, it will happen, but it's never a yes or a no really in tarot. Well, it can, you know, but you've got to sort of take responsibility. Yes, if that's what you want, these are the steps you can take to make yourself whole, to make yourself better, so that you can attract what you want or need in your life. But you've got to have responsibility for your life. It's not all just going to happen without you participating a little bit in your life and learning some life lessons and developing yourself. You know, if we all sat back and just all these things kept happening to us, which would be nice, but they do anyway. But you're really with tarot removing those blocks and learning more. But yeah, I feel that a lot of the time it's sort of saying, you know, yes, that can happen, but take responsibility for it. You know, do take some positive actions towards that step. And a lot of the time it's giving people the hope that, you know, if they're in a bad situation, they can change it. You know, there's answers there. Yeah, you've got to speak up for yourself. You know, you've got to find this part of you to change. And once you change, you'll change your whole situation and change your life. And I think tarot shows you how to do that and gives you the confidence perhaps to do it. So yeah,
absolutely. You know, and it is incredible, isn't it? I think these decks of cards, and as you say, you know, there's so many out there. It is a real personal choice, you know. So Dawn's actually asked as well here, how have you learnt about the court cards? Do you associate them to people within your life?
Well, I have done, but to be honest with the court cards, I learned about them because I was on my learning ground, I suppose, was being on the psychic lines, which is pretty hardcore. It's really hardcore. It's fast and furious, and people want to know 10 questions in 3 minutes.
You must have been shattered after working on there, because as a psychic, the psychic energy does drain you, doesn't it?
It does, it does.
Yeah.
But it was in a time that you know, I really, you know, was firing on. We used to do 3-minute videos, and people really only should only answer or ask one question. But it's very difficult to answer just one question in tarot because you go behind it. But so yeah, I learned really because I would connect to people and the boyfriends they were asking about, or the people they were asking about, and I was shown time and time again the same court card. So although I had my meaning to it, or my definition to, like, the Page of Wands, knowing, then getting in with all these different people, the page would keep coming up. You know, he was a guy that was gonna jump into bed with you and leave the next day, or the Page of Swords would be the guy who would just sort of dig a hole, say the wrong thing, you know, because he was emotionally mature. And you know, so there was different ways, because again, even though you have perhaps a court card that comes in and you think, okay, he's the Page of Pentacles, he's quite a hardworking guy, quite a perfectionist, he's this, that, and the other. They've all got their positive, they're all on a, is it spectrum? Is that so you can get one that's so perfectionist, he's sort of anal, really hard to be behind and be with, or you have him on the beginning. So, you know, it was, you get to know, that's when your sort of psychicness or your intuition kicks in. So you have a guide of how this person they're asking about is, and then with your own intuition you can sort of gauge on that how they're going to be. But yeah, it's a lovely way, and that's one of the easiest ways to do it, is sort of you know, if you relate to the Queen of Wands, you can sort of put her energy there. But if you know somebody in your life that's more the energy of the Queen of Swords, a bit bitchy and a bit, you know, speaks her mind, and or a famous person, either a friend or family or a famous person. And then once they're easier to remember if you sort of place a famous person in. There is actually a deck that I've never brought, but it is famous faces, I think it's called. So within that deck, the court cards are famous people, or actresses.
Oh wow, I've never seen them.
I've looked at them a couple of times, but I'll
be on Google this afternoon and having a little look.
I remember not getting them because I've got my way, and I thought that's going to confuse me, so I didn't look. But they've actually got people in.
Oh, wow, that's interesting. So we've talked about cleansing the cards and things, and bonding and choosing your cards and things like this. What is it you do to look after your cards after a reading? Do you have a particular box? Do you wrap them in a scarf? How do you keep, because I feel with your cards, with any deck of cards, they hold that beautiful vibration. And you know, for me, I like to keep that vibration like this within them. You know, what's your take on that, Selena? What is it you do?
I've got a couple of silk cloths. I've also got, my mum was a dressmaker, so I've got a couple of handbags she made. She made clutch bags, which are beautiful, and I keep some in there. And I do feel it's like they are a special energy. And so I feel energy has to be respected. So you keep them, as you'd wrap up something you love, to keep. And some of them I put back in boxes because I've got too many, but I do put them back in and put them back into their place. The ones I use daily, one set I leave out all the time because I just have the energy in my room with them, so they're just sort of left out because I touch them all the time. They're probably just, give me a break. But if not, either in the box or wrapped up, I feel that.
Yeah, which I must admit, mine, I've got one of mine here in a box, and I've also got one of mine wrapped up in like a red scarf as well. But that's how I was always taught from when I was younger, you know. And it's really interesting because I've just I've started binge watching on Netflix, and I'm now watching Poldark,
Oh, right. Ooh,
yeah,
I should write that down. Is it good?
It's a very easygoing series, but what I like about it is based on a true drama, and it's also based in the beautiful countryside of Cornwall, and it's stunning. But what I really also like about it is that you've got the great aunt who's in her 90s and she's got her tarot cards.
Oh, lovely.
And and every time she, someone may come into the house and she's like, not sure about them. So she gets out these cards and she just starts doing her tarot, and then she says, you need to stay home tonight, dear. But it's great though, because it goes back again. We're going back again in time. It's like another one, Peaky Blinders.
Oh,
love the Peaky Blinders.
I've not seen the last one. I've not seen the last series, so no.
Yeah, love the Peaky Blinders.
Yeah, it's fantastic. The characters are amazing.
Absolutely. Again, based on a true series, But again, we've got in the Peaky Blinders as well the old traditional, like Romany gypsy aspect of it as well, with the divination, with the tarot and things, So I think it's really nice that we are getting these programs coming on our TV in this day and age now, with bringing back the ancient ways of working, of how
it's so wonderful, getting back to basics. And I know we've sort of often spoken with moon working, with divination, with mediumship, it's like, we're accepting it all again. We're open to it. I think there's been a great movement in the last 5 years, 10 years, well, not as long as 10 years, but perhaps that young people are really involved. I look at some of them, not with envy, but I look and think, I wish it had been that open when I was younger, because I could have perhaps learned more, developed more, instead of just feeling like I was on my own. Nobody else I knew had tarots. Nobody else thought the way I was. And this is why it's so wonderful, I feel, to have the membership site, because you've got supported learning, because everybody supports everyone. Because when you're learning tarot or divination or mediumship, sometimes unless you have a bit of a guideline, you don't know where you're going. And then it's also lovely to be in a community where if you say, I use tarot, they're like, oh, show us your cards, instead of, oh my God, you're weird. I hug trees, and they're like, oh yeah, I hugged 10 trees a day.
It's normal, isn't it?
Like-minded people, and it is so important, because we need to know that it's a good thing, and we can support people through it, and everybody's got questions, and it's lovely to have a place where you can go and question, if you're unsure. Or I like on the membership posts lately, there's been like, I've been seeing spiders, what does that mean? I saw a snake, what does that mean? And it's lovely because the universe are always delivering signs to us, and it's up to us if we actually look at them, look up from our phones and look at them and see what message we're getting past. It is so important, isn't it?
Absolutely. And the thing is, what's really nice is all about sharing this knowledge together. And that's the good thing with the Infinite Soul Circle Membership Academy, is that, you know, having that community, having that togetherness, you know, and to all share each other's experiences. Because to be fair, I'll be honest, many years ago now, I won't give away my age, but many years ago now, you know, I would go on workshops, I would go on training places and things like this. So you go and do a day's course, come out of there many times, and I was like, okay,
Now
so
what?
what do I do now? Where do I go? And that's something that I really felt there was a missing link, okay, in development, of having that continuous support, that continuation. Okay, so now listen, you've got into that space. Now, what about opening up into that pathway for you? You know, or go and explore down here and see how you feel. You know, that's the beauty, because spirituality is a massive umbrella, isn't it? Huge umbrella. It's not just about mediumship.
No, it's everything.
So much more, you know, and it's about your soul, it's about your energy, it's about your psychic natural born gifts, it's about healing, you know. So this is what's really wonderful, isn't it, Selena, within the Infinite Soul Circle.
And I feel for myself, you know, because I did learn alone, and you just, in the end, you just get to think, you just put yourself out there and you do it. But it's confidence. And one of the loveliest things, I'm sure you see within the mediumship circles, but people come into the psychic circles, we all have this natural gift, but it's actually having the confidence to deliver it, to express what you're thinking and feeling. And so within the circle of friends, people are saying it. A couple of them sit there and say, oh, I don't know, I can't read cards. And then we say, well, what do you feel about this card? And then they go, all this amazing information that is really insightful and full of guidance for whoever's asked a question. You're like, oh my God, I thought you said you don't know how to read. And it is just building up confidence. And also, I feel, because so you get people that really need that confidence. But then another thing that I see, that some people are too confident and so they don't actually connect empathically with the person. They're like, yeah, this is what you've got to do, you've got to do this, you've got to do this. And it's like, well, that delivery isn't very empathic, and you've got to be really careful what you're saying to this person or what you're doing, and learning the ethics about reading. I mean, that's a really strong and important thing that I thought a few things about in working on the psychic lines, because people want to say, oh, well, what's my ex doing? What are they doing together? And what's happening with this? And you think, well, it's not really your business. Stay on your own track. So it's learning the ethics, and it's everything within the circle. You get your confidence, or sometimes you learn how to use your gift in the best way, instead of just you know, if you're overly confident about things, it's not about you. Some people have got a lot of ego, so it's sort of learning how to be more empathic, to be confident, and the ethics that come in, because sometimes depends where you go and do readings, or who your friends sort of say, oh, I want this, I want you to tell me this. You know, you have to know what you're doing, and because it's a really big thing that we've got to have a lot of respect for, and we just can't say things. I know a few people have had terrible times where a psychic sort of told them they have an illness, or that this is going to happen, and you're like, well, how can you say that? How can you say that? You're affecting and changing this person's life, instead of, you know, I always feel you've got to leave a psychic read or any reading with hope and healing, and other, you know, not to leave worrying that you might have a health issue, or that somebody's doing something, or, you know, you've just got to leave in a positive place, haven't you? It's got to be a healing experience.
Absolutely. And that's the thing of having a reading and understanding psychic. You know, we do have a massive responsibility. It is huge, you know, and the thing is, it's about empowering, not disempowering.
Yeah.
And that's something I feel so passionate about, like you, Selena. It's something that really needs to be adhered to and understood. And, you know, I've had it said to me before, you know, and things like this, some like real negative stuff, and I'm like, lucky enough I know different, you know. But I always say, got a health issue, go and see a doctor. I'm not a certified doctor, so, you know.
Always used to make me laugh. People would pay, I think it was $15 for this sort of 3-minute reading, and they'd say, am I pregnant, or you know, what was it, am I pregnant, or something like that. I was like, well, you could have just gone to see your doctor for free. But yeah, and I think there's a thing to remember as well, as yes, there's, you know, someone will leave a reading, and I've done this myself, and I've just remembered the negative things. I've remembered the negative stuff, and I've forgotten everything positive they've said. So when I read, and what we teach within the Infinite Soul Circle membership, with all of, we've all sort of got the same ethics, haven't we? Myself, Dawn, and yourself all feel strongly about it. So yeah, something negative can come up in a reading, but then you have steps of how you can deal with it. You know, or if something comes up negative, that there's something, an addiction that's around, or something, situation that's going to come up, there's ways to help, or advice to go and see a counsellor, or advice to start doing some different daily habits, or, you know, advice to start doing mindfulness, or to bring in more spiritual practice. So there's ways. It's not just like, oh my God, this shit's going to happen to you. It's like, okay, well, maybe this situation is going to develop, but don't worry, because you're in charge of your life. And if this does come up, what you can do is to be prepared, you know, look after your energy, do this, you know, listen to yourself instead of your friends, or whatever it is, you know. But there's advice to help you through a negative situation, instead of just being told, yep, that's going to happen. And you're like, oh my God.
That's the thing. And sometimes, even though it's maybe not what people always want to hear, but there's always a master plan behind every single situation. And sometimes, you know what, when you're in that space, you don't always see the bigger plan, but it's because there's new doorways opening. You know. But Selena, it's been amazing. I could sit and talk to you all day. You know, because I can just see how passionate you are with your work. You know, so guys, if you'd like to connect with Selena, okay, she does an array of different courses. She is a specialist in the tarot. You know, please hop over to her website, which I've already put in the live chat, SelenaJoyLoveIt.com. You can go there, and also Infinite Soul Circle Membership Academy as well. So Selena, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
It's been an absolute pleasure to connect with you and talk with you, and thank you for sharing all your knowledge.
Thank you. Oh, it's been really lovely. Thank you very much.
Okay, take care. See you later.